Okay, we're trying again. This time, hopefully, Karen can get online. I'm just going to sit here till she arrives. This is attempt number 3. Hello, people are jumping on. Let's see what happens. Oh, I think it's going to work. Add. It says adding. I don't know if you have to accept a thing.
Hello.
Cool. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, let me just turn this up and make sure that it's balanced. Okay, we did it.
We did it. Excellent. So I'm just want to welcome Karen Birch, and she's in Forest Row, and she's been an Aura Mediator I don't know how long, so you'll fill us in. And your business is called Aura Mastery. And I'm really looking forward to this chat because we don't actually know each other that well. We've bumped into each other like for 3 minutes here and there over the past 5 years that I've been doing. And I just really I'm looking forward to interviewing or chatting with Aura Mediators in the UK because it's not that well known, and like we've probably been the most active in the UK, and I think we want to see it spread, and just because it has such an amazing influence on UK consciousness, that I wanted to go further. And I really think it's such a beautiful way of working with people that the more Aura Mediators we can have, the better for everyone, really. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so I thought then what I would like to know, because I actually don't know, is your aura transformation story. And did you know when you heard about it? Because when I heard about it, I was like, that's exactly what I've been waiting for. Did you know when you heard about it, or what's your story? Just go for it.
Yeah, cool. Well, first of all, yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for inviting me to have this conversation. Because likewise, I've been wanting to speak to you for so long. Because like you say, you're the other kind of like very active Aura mediator in the UK, and now the instructor. And so it's great that we're finally getting together and having like a proper chat. And yeah, so I mean, my story is, so I had my aura transformation 6 years ago, and actually, when it came into my awareness, I felt a lot of resistance towards it initially, because I had reached a place in my own journey of personal development and kind of spiritual awakening that felt really, really good. Like I wasn't like, a lot of people like have an aura transformation for, people have it for different reasons. So some people have it because they have a lot of damage in their energy fields, or they feel quite lost in certain ways, or whatever it is. Whereas I was in an amazing space, and I didn't want anything to upset that. I didn't want to like now take any risks, and have something suddenly kind of like create a bomb in my reality.
Yeah.
However, I was in a place at that time where I had such a beautiful connection to source and my spirit and my heart, that I was in the practice of completely surrendering and completely, handing everything over. So even if that I felt resistance, a strong resistance, ultimately at that point in my life, I was going to go home and meditate, and and open it up to my kind of allies, and and ask, okay, beyond the resistance that I'm feeling, what is the truth of this? Because I just wanted to be of service. And and the response that I got, it was basically like there was a big party going on in the in the sky above me. There was like a big celebration of like, finally, she's, we've provided her what she needs to do what she wants to do. Because I was just every day kind of, in my prayers, I was like, use me for what I'm here to do. I want to be of service. I want to contribute. You know, I have so much to give to kind of the kind of collective consciousness, and you know that, and you know, and I'm just dying to be used, basically. So this was like a big kind of this is what this is what you need, basically, from the universe. This is your next step. So I did the AuraTransformation, and I had no idea, you know, what I was in for, because at that point 6 years ago, it wasn't so it wasn't so kind of strong, the advice that you really need to read the book before you have it. You know, that hadn't occurred yet. So at this point it was like, you know, have the AuraTransformation, you know, maybe read the book, you know. So I had no idea, and I kind of thought that I was going to get away with sort of some kind of greater angelic ascension process. So,
no.
Of course, this is not what occurred. And what happened was beautiful, because actually, even though I was in a wonderful place, I was in a wonderful place that was still actually quite fragile. You know, like I couldn't handle more than kind of one social activity in the week.
Wow.
Because actually, you know, my energy was very, very sensitive and very light, and you know, and I was, you know, and I had, you know, to my own credit, I had got to a place where I was coping beautifully with the world by staying in this kind of blissful trance within my heart, that I could not leave that place, otherwise I would fall apart. And I wasn't able to actually really bring what my life purpose is to the world. I wasn't able to fully show up in the world with my own empowerment, and with, you know, zest and drive and endurance. I was too energetically far too weak. I couldn't do it. So I would have been fine if I was like left alone in the forest to meditate, you know, with some elves and some deer, and you know, just leave me there to forage and ascend. Like, yes, that would be fine, you know, and just pray for everybody. Like, I could have done that, but I wasn't, you know. So basically, what the AuraTransformation did, you know, when I felt all the power that I'd given away, and you know, all the bliss that I felt in being out there and connected to source, felt all of that descend within me. And suddenly, you know, and it was quite a kind of shift that I had to then come to grips with. You know, I mean, AuraTransformation, even for somebody that's already quite balanced, can involve a bit of a kind of, you know, identity breakdown, and you know, there's quite a big realignment of who you are and what your relationship to the world is, and your relationship to yourself. And you know, there's quite a big integration and realignment that needs to happen. But for me, it was massive, because I really had to come fully into my own power as an individual person, which I did, and it's enabled me to just be an empowered, effective, impactful human being, sort of penetrating into this physical dimension with all of the gifts and all of the drive that I have within myself, and to make that be successful, and to actually manifest powerfully what it is that's really there in my heart. So that's the kind of core essence of it. I could elaborate much more on nuances.
Go for it. I mean, just the bits that I can pick up on from what you've just said, just to clarify for maybe people that don't know a lot, the reason why you can suddenly make a lot more happen in your life, and the way I feel it or see it, is that all of your higher dimensional energy, or information, or your spirit energy, or consciousness, rather than being out there and maybe even dissipating out there, by bringing it into the body, it connects with the earth energy, like the ground, the material terrestrial energy, so that you can actually kind of use your power with the terrestrial energy and make real things happen, whether it's a business or impact or service or building something that you've always wanted to build. If your feet are on the ground, it's beautiful to be up in the higher dimensions all the time and in the angelic realms, and it's all very nice being all woo out there, and it's like a nice place to hang out, but actually you can't make much happen when all your energy's up there. So I think that it has a great impact on people that
absolutely,
they're very connected, but they can't make things happen. I think that there's a real
and there's, you know, and so I mean this is the kind of area that I specialize in terms of you know, people that are in the spiritual kind of world, you know, because even, funnily enough, even though like most of my clients are not actually, because but that's another thing, but like the whole kind of, because a lot of people see aura transformation as like a spiritual advancement, you know, and it is an advancement, but it's not in the way that people have always thought we would advance. You know, like a lot of people think of human advancement as us becoming more kind of angelic, and actually, you know, and actually becoming much more kind of like, you know, this whole kind of unity consciousness. It's quite a different, it's a different kind of unity consciousness. It's like, yes, we become more connected in with the whole, but in a kind of with a kind of centralization of our power. And you know, and because before, you know, I think for a lot of people who are on the spiritual path, you know, you have to kind of disassociate from everything, because I thought I was very balanced. I thought I'd healed all this stuff. I thought I'd sorted out all of my stuff through 12 years of daily meditation and a whole load of, you know, just healing work on myself. I thought it was all healed. So, you know, I thought that me reaching this place where I was just quite kind of, you know, in this blissful place, and I was detached from the illusion of this physical reality and everything, was me really nailing it. And actually, you know, when spirit really came down, it was like, oh, right, okay, I've got all these issues that are actually really still there. And, you know, and I now have to deal with all those things, because, you know, and that's the thing, that's the juicy thing about aura transformation, is that, you know, on the one hand, it's a shortcut, and you suddenly have all these kind of, all these benefits and all these kind of, like exaggerated powers, you know, like certain things just automatically increase. And for me, I had like a lot of fears and a lot of debris kind of just fell away automatically. But then there are other things that it's like, no, you have to really get this, and you have to kind of, you know, really, really look at this and integrate this. So it's like, it's a shortcut, but it's a very deep and thorough process of making, you know, making yourself whole and doing the work so that you can fully show up in what it is that you're meant to be here to do.
I agree. Just in throwing back a few ideas, I think that in the more common idea of becoming a spiritual being or awakening is about ascension. It's like becoming higher dimensional and connecting further and further out there with like planet energies and channelers and all this stuff. So you're not even concentrating on yourself anymore at all. You're like out there somewhere, giving your power away to whether it's a guru or a different energy or whatever. So what I think aura transformation does is ascend in, like actually we're going into the body.
Exactly.
And when you and then you were saying like a shortcut, I believe that we come in with a set of lessons that we've come to this dimension to learn, which is in a body. Actually, we're in a body, so we can't escape that, and may as well get what you can from being in this terrestrial dimension. And I think we come in with a set of like lessons or core woundings that is our mission to heal in this lifetime, in this body. And when you have an aura transformation, yes, a lot of stuff you've been working on, or maybe stuff that was never yours in the first place, falls away. So you have a lot more energy available to actually do the healing work. But it's not that you're cheating. I have to say this all the time. You're not like just erasing all your core wounds and all your issues. You're actually having to learn the same ones, but you have a lot more energy to do so, a lot more heart space to do so, a lot more compassion, forgiveness, much better perspective on your own story and other people's stories, rather than being inside like the core, the mess of your old aura. You're like able to see a really good overview, which means you can actually find the perspective that you need on those. But I still am learning massive lessons, you know, 5 years down the line. I'm so grateful for aura transformation, because I've never gone back down to wherever I was. I had a very different story to you, and I'll go into it in a bit. But I've never gone backwards. But when I do hit like a big chunky piece of, you know, the core wounding that all humanity share, whether it's grief or abandonment or rejection or betrayal, whatever those things are, you know, they're still coming up for me sometimes, but I'm able to like have a much clearer perspective. And when you feel it go, you know it's not coming back, not in the same way.
Yeah.
Whereas in the old aura, you tend to go like round and round, and you're like, I thought I felt this.
Yes. And then in the end, that's why you're just like, I'm out of here. I know exactly what to do to just actually check out. I can just meditate, come into identification with source, and then my problem is over. So it's like, so yeah, you could do that easily before, whereas now you don't get away with it. So it's like you finally get to like really, you know, just like sift through that stuff and like really look at it, and actually, like you say, like be able to, you know, to actually release it and make progress, you know. And you can kind of like, when I look back at the, you know, the last few years, I just think, wow, the amount of, you know, like deep progress that I've made, like in terms of my personal development. It's astounding. It's like, and it is, you know, and I think whenever like I talk about aura transformation, you know, and talking to you about aura transformation and hearing what you're saying, there's so many different nuances to it to describe, and a lot of the time it can be difficult to sort of explain exactly what it is, because it is literally like a different dimension. It's like the rules are different, you know, and even though, like, you know, we might be using the same words as what somebody would describe another technique or method or treatment with, you know, that's working under the kind of, you know, the old time, it's actually, you know, it's because of the shortage of words that we have that we're using those words, because actually it's a very different reality. It's like, it's it's a different paradigm, isn't it?
It's hard to describe, because I suppose the different language, different paradigm, you know, it's, I guess it's like, I describe it often to imagine you like explorers from the UK go to Africa and they come home and they're like, we saw stripy horses and like these things with giant long necks, and people are like, yeah, whatever.
Like saying, oh yeah, we have those here.
You're making
and
it
thinking
up.
of, like, you know, they're thinking of horses with ever slight kind of, you know, fluctuations or whatever. So people either like dismiss it, or they kind of relate it to their own experience, which is natural. That's just human nature, isn't it? That we. So
what's your what was your experience of becoming an aura mediator? How long did you have between, like, what was the first things that happened after your AET and then you're like, I need to do it, or training it?
Well, I kind of started to suspect immediately, because before becoming an aura mediator, I was teaching meditation, because I wanted to help. Well, you know, a massive part of my purpose is consciousness expansion. You know, it's my quest has always been, how can people be happy? You know, the inquiry of human happiness. And so for so long, you know, my pursuit was enlightenment, and I saw meditation as being the most effective way to transform consciousness. So that, you know, then aura transformation comes along, and, you know, and because I understood so clearly what we are capable of in terms of meditation alone, I was able to you know, really get a grasp of exactly what was happening to me because of the aura transformation, and what was happening to me simply because of, you know, my what I could do with my consciousness anyway. So you know, and they are completely radically different things. The aura transformation changed me so radically at such a fundamental level of human operating. You know, it's like the kind of the baseline default way of functioning as a human being that gets advanced. So it's very different to what you do with meditation. You know, meditation is more like, oh, I can do this with my consciousness, and I can, you know, change my energetic state and blah 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 blah. But you know, but it would take, I don't, you know, it doesn't really, in the same way, it can't really change your essential human functioning in the way that aura transformation does at such a deep cellular, like, you know, overall broad way of functioning. So I was like, wow, you know, if this can do this in like a, you know, in a few hours, just a treatment, a one-off treatment does this, like,
No.
I'm gonna bloody do that, you know. Excuse my swearing. It's like, you know, okay, forget teaching meditation, that's way too long, you know. I'm gonna do aura mediating instead, you know. So I mean, I still think meditation has value, but you know, essentially to raise our kind of, you know, our human functioning so that we're more optimal beings at that default level. So it was quite clear to me that my path would then be to be an aura mediator. And you know, and it helped that I could already kind of, you know, read and, you know, see things psychically and everything. So it was like a natural kind of evolution. But the aura mediator training definitely, you know, it was like a massive boost, because previous to the training, even though I was able to you know, read psychic information, I hadn't applied that to auras, or trying to actually transform an aura, you know. And I remember at the beginning of the training, because the transmission that you do, which happens before the training begins, it was interrupted. So I had to have the second part of that transmission.
You're talking about the 4-hour aura?
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So just for those watching, you know, it's when you train to become a mediator, you know, you get a kind of energetic transmission.
Another upgrade.
A what?
It's like another
upgrade. And you know, and then you have the actual practical kind of, you know, experience. And normally you'd have that upgrade, and then you start practicing and training, but mine got interrupted, so I didn't have the second part until later on. And what that actually gave me was the experience of seeing that at the beginning of the training, when I first started to practice, I really struggled to hold all of the kind of psychic data at the same time as the intentional work that I was doing. Like, I couldn't hold it in my consciousness. I felt like my brain was going to explode. And then as soon as the second bit was in place, which I didn't know when that was going to happen, because Berit was going to be doing it at a point and she wasn't going to tell me. And then suddenly, like, you know, the next morning I went in, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I can do this now. This is kind of effortless. Suddenly I can see this happening, and I can hold that at the same time and take account of all these different things. So this is why the mediator training is actually a really, you know, really amazing upgrade to have.
Well, I mean, I feel very privileged to be the person that's now Johanna. I think she might be online. Hi, Johanna. Hello, everyone that's saying hello. Johanna's been training me how to do it. So I've actually, in the last course, I think I did pretty much all of them except one, the 4-hour session on the aura mediator. So when you become an aura mediator, it's really hands-on, and you have to bring a couple of clients with you, not all on the same day, but throughout the week you'll be aura transforming people, at least 2 or 3. But before the course starts with the clients coming, you have this 4-hour individual session individuals. It's just you and the instructor. And when I've put my hands on to do this upgrade to the Aura Mediator energy, it's like 10 times as strong as an Aura transformation. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, wow, it's so powerful. It's like for me, because I had like 2 months from my Aura transformation until I trained as an Aura Mediator. I mean, I slipped in like right on the day because I was like, I need to do this now. And they were like, well, you've got to come for your Aura transformation right now because it's in exactly 2 months. So it was all like very quick. So, I mean, I was we call it crystallizing, which is, this is another question actually, I'm going to bring it up about the long game. But doing these 4-hour personal sessions it's an incredible, not only expansion of your energy field, but you become like the blueprint of the new aura that your clients will then activate from. So it becomes really clear, really, it becomes so much clearer and stronger. And then the other thing that's happening is that we're moving you to your own individual platform of consciousness as like this individuated, very grounded bubble of consciousness. And as an Aura Mediator, you're way more, like after that activation, you're so much more grounded, so much more connected. And the clearer you are as a mirror, the more you can see where people are not clear and you can really help them. It actually expands your vision. But you know, like in the Aura transformation and in the activation for the Aura Mediator, you're receiving so much more of your higher dimensional information that you maybe never have used on planet Earth before, or you maybe haven't, you know, the gifts that you haven't like engaged here, or just information that your system can now take because of the new aura. But yeah, becoming an Aura Mediator is, even if you don't do anything with it, just having that 4-hour upgrade is huge, I think, for the individual. And you know, the people in the course, when we're running a course, everyone says it, and I bet they said it when you were trained, the energy in the space during that week, like no one is tired, no one yawns, no one needs breaks. I mean, we do have breaks, but no one needs them. You could go like for 12 hours and everyone's just like, you know, like completely alert, completely conscious. And normally in these spiritual healing programs, and there's always a bit of like, there's always a little bit of that, you know, people not getting on or getting triggered or people's stuff coming up. There's like none of it. Even if there's stuff, we're so comfortable in our own skin that we're like, oh, well, they're doing that. Okay, then. So it's just incredible. Yeah. And the mix of people that come, you know, for Aura Transformation or for the courses, they're not just your average, you know, spiritual person that wants to be more spiritual. It's like, there's no. So, I mean, what kind of client?
Yeah, because we've been talking about, I mean, that you know, that's me, because that was my story. But you know, we've been talking about the spiritual client, you know, or that kind of dimension, people on a spiritual path. But actually, you know, most of my clients, I don't know about you, but most of my clients are just kind of open-minded people. You know, I get businessmen, politicians who are like, you know, I don't believe in anything that you're saying, but, you know, but I've been referred by this person that I trust and this person that I trust, and, you know, because they have more energy afterwards, and, you know, and they were depressed before and now they're not anymore, and blah, 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 blah. So they're just open because they're actually sensible. You know, not because they necessarily believe in energy, but because they're just, you know, reasonable people that are like, well, I saw what happened to her, so I want some of that. And you know, and I get a lot of mothers, lots of very busy, tired mothers come to me because it just improves their relationship with their children, which is what I think you had, right? And just you suddenly have more energy to actually, you know, to actually like cope with everything on top of your ordinary demands. So what sort of, you know, what is your kind of client base like, Sarah?
It is so varied. It's just not, it's really hard, you know, when you try and do like marketing stuff and you're like, so your ideal client, I'm like, hey, Aura Transformation, that does not fit as a model. You can't boil it down to one kind of client, because the list that I have that I know in my head is like RAF pilots, Ofsted inspectors, school teachers, Yoga teachers and massage therapists, definitely, because they're constantly working on people's energy. Teachers, because then their consciousness becomes kind of aligned with the people, the kids in the classroom. Then there's people, shopkeepers, mothers, parents, famous artists, you know, musicians, people that use their creative energy all the time and they want to amplify that. People that need to be like on the ball, like engineers and stuff like that, they're doing it. And there's just there's absolutely no demographic, to be honest. And there's people that are like where I was you know, in a energetic state, and I'd been in the party scene, and for me it just gave me my life back, and I don't know where I would have been if I hadn't had an aura transformation, and I don't think I'd be in a very good place at all.
A lot of people say that.
To some people it's like a lifesaver, or like just fresh start, energetic start. For other people it's the cherry on the top. Like for you it sounds like a bit like the cherry on the top, you know. And for other, and I'd say for some people it's like a humongous change, and for others it's just like part of the process, part of the flow into increasing their capacities, or their vitality, their general vitality, and just wanting to be in, you know, in line with the evolution of consciousness on the planet, because the energy's there for everyone. You know, the kids have brought it with them, and I think my favorite stories are often the ones with kids, you know. Like my daughter, when I came home from my aura transformation, I think it took her like 2-3 days to notice something was different, and she put her hand on my, she was 6 years old, she put her hand on my face and she went, "Mummy, you're here, like you're here, you're in your body, you're looking at me." Like how I can see in both our eyes, we're very grounded, we're very present, we're very here. And that's something that you really see in aura mediators or aura transform people. And my eyes were not like this before. I was not in my body. I was constantly churning a lot of emotional debris all the time. I was shooting out of my body and just had no protection. So I was absolutely knackered all the time. Everything was like coming in at me. So suddenly to have my spirit energy kind of in my body, my eyes bright and lit up within days, she noticed it. And I think I even had a beautiful dream soon after, where she sat in a field of daisies, and it's a dream, and there's like a little deer, and she she's my daughter, invites me into the center of the field and lays me down and puts daisies on me and goes, "I've been waiting for you such a long time, Mummy." So it was just like, it changed our life. And she was even drawing little PowerPoints when she was like 7 about how aura transformation changed our life, because then other family members had it too when they saw the change in me. I mean, I think my mum cried the first time she saw me.
I'm getting shivers.
Yeah, like 2 months after my 18, I saw my mum, and they'd not seen me for 5-6 years with me in my body, or present, or okay, you know. And then that energy, all that potential I always knew I had, which was, I was getting like more and more frustrated and upset with myself, because I was like the potential and all this stuff I want to do with my life, I don't even have the energy to do it. I've failed myself. I've completely messed this up, and I'm like upset about it. And you know, I went through a lot of emotional journeying on my own and trying to figure my stuff out, but there was a bunch of stuff that I couldn't do on my own. So I realized after all this personal work that I just did not have any energy protection anymore. Like even me meditating twice a day, or doing Reiki on myself, or all this.
It's not sufficient, is it?
Well, after a while, you're like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can't keep trying to build a temporary energy field every day. This isn't gonna, this is no good. So I realized that there's something. I was like, well, you know, if we break a leg, you go to the leg doctor, you know, you go to the hospital, get a cast. I was like, there must be some aura doctors out there. Like something's not right. And I remember like my chakras used to be blowing open all the time, and I'd be like going to the bathroom and like trying to close them, you know, because then basically anxiety, or like paranoia, or like talking too much, or not enough, or whatever it is, you know, it was just all like out of control. And then I just wasn't present with my daughter, and I could feel that. And then I had lots of like bitterness and anger and resentment encoded into my energy field. And even though the traumas were well and long gone and well over, they were still bursting into my field and into my consciousness all the time, just with a trigger or a word or a thought. I'd be going through the same amount of anger or, you know, trauma as I had been fighting before. And it was like, this isn't right. And I was trying to do everything I could to release this stuff. You know, I was like, love and light, and trying to do all this stuff. And it just wasn't shifting. And I was like, this isn't right. I can't do it on my own. And then there was, what else was there? There was another thing that I did it for. Oh, negative monkey mind, really low self-esteem chatter, just like incessant, really, because my energy field was getting weaker and weaker. I think anything was
just coming in.
Not just part, you know, like my Achilles heel would become triggered, as in maybe I could have had a lifetime with a strong energy field and those things would not have become a problem. But because I was getting weaker and weaker, I just had no immunity to that ancestral.
Everything just spirals and affects everything else, doesn't it? So
it was like all this epigenetic ancestral material was just triggering away, and you know, it can jump generations, but I was definitely feeling a lot of, and it's not just in my family or anything, but I think the history of women in well, where we are at, you know, there's been so much suppression and repression and oppression, you know, all this stuff that it was coming out. I could feel it in my mind, like, you're not good enough, what's the point of this, you know, you failed yourself, you know, blah blah. Not, it wasn't even about being a woman, but I figured out that generally it was around this pattern of always having to have not shown our gifts and not having lived our truth and being able to do this sort of work freely. So for me, I realized that, okay, I'd figured out I had ancestral chatter going on in my mind that was not kind to me, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to move it or shift it. I was like, so it's like, yay, I figured it out. Like, oh, it's still here. So when I put these questions out, I was like, right, I've done everything I can, and I really did. You know, what can I do? And I heard it was Pamela, your friend Pamela. I met her like for 3 minutes in a car park once, because she knows my daughter's dad, and she just said, oh, haven't you heard about this? You know, get ready to like live your full potential. I'm like, whew, looked it up, and it just listed everything I'd been asking. You know, stronger protection. Releasing ancestral imprint, letting go of stuff that's been bothering you, and you know, releasing emotional patterns, dissolving them. And so
it covers everything because it's human functioning.
Yeah. So I went down and had it done, and within, I mean, I'm not kidding, but within hours I was like, oh wait, what's happened here? You know, like I can't really remember the actual transformation that well, but because it's not, when I always tell this to my clients, the aura transformation is a pleasant experience with one of us, but actually the real stuff is the long game. It's the fact that over the next 9 months to a year and a half, you're going to become more and more grounded, more and more solid, more and more integrated. And I want to know about your experience. So did you have like all the old stuff coming up afterwards, you know, like clearing and shifting through in the first few months? Did you have that experience, the emotional thing?
I had, I mean, what did I have? I mean, it was more that I had an awareness that anything that was happening that I recognized as being old, I was welcoming it. I was like saying, okay, so there's this, so you're on your way out, and okay, there's this, and you're on your way out. So I was having a party with kind of just, you know, just saying goodbye to everything on its way out. But mainly I was enjoying the absolute clarity that I was feeling around things for the first time in my life, you know. Because even before, you know, when I was able to meditate and, you know, receive guidance and messages and blah 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 blah, it's like, you know, I was having to go into meditation and go into a certain consciousness state, and, you know, and then be able to get into that frame of consciousness where I could receive the truth. Whereas now it was just like, that's not right for me, that's right for me, this is who I am, that's not who I am, I don't want to be around that energy anymore. Yep, that's what I've got to do. It's like, wow, the revelation of just having that clarity of my direction, and no longer these kind of this grayness of, oh, I'm not sure, because you can always you know, your mind can always see both sides of any argument. And so, you know, making decisions would be difficult because it would be like, well, I can see it from that side, I can see it from that side. It's just endless. Whereas now there was like there's this cellular kind of like, you know, sort of this powerful impulse of yes, this, no, that. So that was kind of like the kind of the main thing that was occupying me. And then obviously, you know, when you start to crystallize, that's fun, isn't it? when you go through the, you know, you get the, yeah, that deeper clear out of the chakras that happens, and that, you know, and the kind of, you go through that little wonky phase where you get a little bit spaced out, and you know, and the fire inside of your system increases. And so, you know, when you first get that, you know, that whoosh of the, you really feel the crystal energy coming in, and you get so fired up in your truth, like that, you know, that's really exciting. And I remember one of my, you know, one of the first experiences of really feeling the sense of protectiveness in my aura was so beautiful, because I mean, like what you were saying before, in terms of, you know, you used to do your Reiki and all these different things. You know, I used to work at a crack addiction clinic, and I would be traveling across London every day, and then spending all day with clients, you know, with a lot of serious issues, and I was doing all these different protections and blah 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 blah, and you know, and I was using so much energy just to kind of, you know, just to clear my energy all the time. And a lot of the time it just wasn't working. You know, I was using all these top techniques that people talk about, and I was still coming away like drained and feeling like deeply kind of like penetrated and washed through with all these energies. And I remember when I started to really crystallize, which is, you know, the, just for other people in case they don't know, which is when your kind of your higher self or your higher spiritual energy really starting to kind of merge and strengthen into this kind of strong field around you, and feeling like I was surrounded by all these people, and you know, it's that first experience of being surrounded by all these people, and feeling as if I was on my own, because none of the energy that was around me was really getting inside, and I felt so good and so free, and so like, oh yeah, here I am just in my own field, you know, feeling really good, and there are all these people around me, and it doesn't
just
matter in the slightest.
People's energy just bounces.
Exactly.
Woo!
Yeah, and it's like you can actually kind of feel yourself, that you're not just this body. You actually start to have that tangible experience of like, oh, I don't just like end here, like I'm out there as well, and you know, and this is the, you know, my boundary is actually, you know, a few meters like outside of my body, and you start to get this whole different sense. So yeah, that was great fun.
Yeah, I think with the first few months for me, there was all the amazing stuff that happened, but at the same time, you know, like the thought patterns were gone. You know, I could just like stare out of a window and there was nothing happening. I was like, oh yeah, because before it'd be just like all that stuff going on, and then the protection was instant. Like before, I would walk down the street or be you know, out and about, and if someone was in a funny mood and walked past me, I'd pick up the mood. Or if I was like practicing energy work on someone, and bear in mind I had no aura protection, I didn't maybe know that quite consciously, but and I was constantly clearing and sifting or trying to, I would go home with their symptoms and wake up the next morning with all their stuff, and I'm like, this is not right. So I, you know, even if you use protection, you know, like you're using the, you know, like I protect myself and blah, 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 and then do some energy work. If you have no auric protection, it's going to be very difficult to stay clear. And then that's where I think a lot of people that say, oh, I'm an empath, but an empath is one thing, but if you're an empath with no aura protection, that's like a double whammy. So you can have strong protection, crystal aura, and still be a beautiful empath. You know, you don't, it doesn't, because I think people get a bit confused. They're like, oh, I feel everything, it must mean I'm an empath or something. Well, actually, it might be just that you've got no protection. But then what happened with me was so instant protection. That was great. I haven't wasted a single minute protecting myself ever since, really, to be honest. Like, I do the clearing of my energy occasionally, but it kind of happens automatically now. And then for me, though, there was an emotional detox aspect where, you know, the low self-esteem thing, and then the being kind of like clairvoyant but not realizing that, was that I would pick up information from my environment all the time, like tiny behavioral cues, and I always thought it was something like not good about me or something like that. So for years I'd piled up, and this is my doing, and this is what was upsetting, was that I'd piled up my perception of everyone's opinion of me onto my back, until I was like, it felt like barrels of tar on my back. And for me to let that go was a kind of, it wasn't slow, it was a process of actually being like acknowledging that I'd actually piled all these energies onto my back. And those people only probably thought about me for like 1 second, 5 years ago. And then I kept it there like, oh. So for me, that was like a huge process, letting go of all this tarry, horrible energy off my back. And there were tears of like forgiving myself for doing that, and tears of forgiving them, maybe, if there was some reality to it. So for me, there was definitely an emotional detoxing kind of period where basically you're just accelerating, you're doing that shortcut through all of your stuff, but you can't cheat and not process it. You know, you kind of still have to feel things come up and go, but they're just happening faster. So I mean, I spend quite a lot of time with my clients preparing them, or making them aware that prepare your clients if they were to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, I share what I can during the AuraTransformation to prepare people. But you know, I've just started a community kind of WhatsApp group as well, just to give people ongoing support, because for me, like, a big part of the AuraTransformation and the opportunity of AuraTransformation for me is the stuff that we're talking about now, is to actually increase awareness around energetic dynamics, because I feel that, you know, this is like the area that's most lacking in kind of, you know, personal development awareness. You know, like, a lot of people are, you know, they're so aware of other aspects of consciousness, healing, transformation, but actually understanding like what's going on energetically, you know, not only just within ourselves, but especially in our interactions with other people. You know, the fact that most people do not understand how much of what they're thinking and feeling is not their own energy. It's you know, it's the energies that are around them. That if there are any holes, or if there's any porosity at all, then you're going to be feeling things from other people around you, and you're not going to know that it's theirs. You're going to think that it's yours. So then you have these people that are constantly on this cycle of healing all the time. Like, no matter how much healing work they do, they still need more healing work, because they don't realize that, you know, the reason why they keep needing more healing is because they're constantly picking up things from other people. So they're actually constantly healing other people's stuff, and all they need to do is actually clear it or strengthen their aura so that doesn't happen anymore. So yeah, there is so much to kind of, you know, to educate, and I do find that, yeah, that the AuraTransformation, I
think we could probably talk for 2 days or something, or more.
I know, and you know, and so I mean, yeah, like, I'd be interested in hearing from you, like, you know, how much support do you give, or do you feel like you tend to have to give to people once they've had the AuraTransformation? Because obviously the idea is that, you know, I mean, the AuraTransformation is permanent. So, you know, you have this treatment and that's it then. You've got this new aura for life. And, you know, and I think I've made a mistake before of, you know, because I really want to empower people as much as possible, you know, I want people to claim their empowerment in knowing that you have this aura and you can now maintain it yourself. You know, you can, it's up to you, like, you know, how smooth and how kind of, you know, how fast, you know, to an extent, your crystallization processes, and, you know, how kind of joyful that your journey is from now on, depending on how much you stay kind of true to the new time energy, and yeah, and you're maintaining and you're balancing yourself, etc. Whereas I think actually, you know, I should probably like tell people you need to come back for a balance session like a few times, because actually that does help a lot of the time, because most people do get a little bit complacent. So I wondered from you, like, what's your experience been in terms of like how much?
Well, I know that because I was like obsessed with the same things as you, really, like consciousness expansion, ascension. I kind of realized that I'm not just a physical body here, and I seem to have a lot. Before my aura transformation, I was in and out of my past lives because I had no energy protection. So I was like, all these stuff going on, and I'm like, there's more to this, you know. And so I know that I put in 100% effort alongside, well, before my aura transformation and afterwards. I did so much emotional stuff before, clearing. Then I carried on being really engaged with the process, and obviously I trained, and then I'm in the energy all the time. So I know I had like a fantastical experience and like a really epic transformation. And then I started, I could see that there's some people that are having, maybe like it's a huge change for them, and then other people maybe less so. And I was like, well, what's that about? So then I started seeing what helps people more. So I think the reason why I've had success with aura transformation is because I'm really invested in empowering people to learn how to look after their energy, or the new aura anyway. And then only this last year, I think it was like 8 months ago, I set up something I'd been wanting to do for a long time called the Crystal Gatherings for Aura Transform People. It's a Facebook group. Nothing happens in the group, but once a month we have like a group call. I answer question and answers. I usually have a theme, and then we do like a kind of epic balancing together. I just lead it. That does not mean it's like being connected to an aura mediator. That it doesn't replace it, but it gives you that, it's like they're doing the energy work to themselves. I'm just guiding it. I have different themes, different ones, and I've really enjoyed doing that, and people get a lot out of it. And I think in my first year, I think I had like maybe six balancings, or at least 4 anyway, and then a couple a year anyway. Now I still have balancings, because it really, lots of stuff happens in life, and and I'm traveling a lot as well, and I'm doing loads of energy work every day. I'm dealing with people's trauma every day, with the kinesiology work as well. So it's really important to and I suppose a balancing is giving yourself more space to expand in your own energy, because when you're surrounded by people that don't have an aura transformation, there's nothing wrong with that, but you've got the old-time consciousness kind of coming in eventually. So, and then your kids go to school, and there's all that energy going on. So it's just really important to keep on top of it, I think. I mean, it's just like, I call it like an MOT, like apparently that's the British thing, but it's like putting your car in for a service like once or twice a year. It's the same thing with your new aura. We're not in a place where everyone's integrated and whole and taking responsibility for their energy. It's just not happening. But I know one thing aura transformation did for me was teach me how to be responsible with my energy and my thoughts and my emotions. I used, you kind of throw them around, just being you're not thinking about things. You're not aware. At some point I was not aware that me thinking about someone or something all day long is actually me losing my power, giving my power to someone and making their energy bigger somehow. So after a while, when you learn the tools that we teach people, I mean, I would say most aura mediators teach people to pull their energy in, send energy away that isn't theirs, and to balance their elements and masculine and feminine energy. And that's just like what we teach people, because it mimics the way the new aura works. And then just confirming that really makes a huge difference in your life, I think. So and I think I give a bunch of papers with I write, people have to read like it's not like a contract, but it's like guidelines that I've written that I email people before they have an AT with me. And then afterwards, I give them a pack of papers with some information about what to expect and what not to worry about, and how to get the most out of their AT. And I think what I would like as the new instructor in the UK, and have these conversations, is to build this network of crystallizing people, or people that are having the aura transformation. Because when 2 people that are AT'd get together, whether they're friends or just training together, the energy is different. It's so much clearer, so much simpler. and people in their
Oh my God.
you know, it's just like actually there's lots of space and quietness in the room, even though there's lots of fantastic people in the room.
Absolutely. And then of course, you know, and then when we start to go into the golden energy, of course, then community becomes even more important. Then, you know, then we really need to start interacting with each other. So yeah, no, I agree that building that community and that network is great, and that's why it's great that we're having this conversation as well. And you know, maybe our own networks can at some point, you know, link up with
yeah, maybe we need to have like a 80 people party or something.
Exactly. But yeah, I think another thing to add there is, you know, something that I always try to communicate with people is to never underestimate the fact that we are like surrounded by the energy of disempowerment, like all the time, you know, that
media,
that like collective consciousness of struggle and disempowerment, of fear, and, you know, and all of that is surrounded by, you know, we're just like in this ocean of it all the time. So, you know, so even, you know, even with a crystallized aura, like you have to stay, you know, I mean, luckily the aura itself facilitates a greater awareness because it makes everything visible all the time. But there is like maintenance to do, you know, all the time. You have to be kind of on top of your balance. You have to be making sure that you stay balanced all the time. And this new energy is, you know, it is breaking through an old paradigm. It is beginning, you know, it's revolutionary. So
I agree. It does feel like you're being, Andrea said it like a couple of weeks ago, but being unplugged from the matrix, basically. Like literally, that's what's
yeah, and that, you know, and that's great, and it involves work, isn't it?
But there's some people that are just ready for that, and it just makes sense. And then there's some people that are a bit shocked when all their stuff that they've been suppressing is in their face, or really seeing the truth, the relationships around them, or the choices they've made. So some people, I have to say, have a bit of a bumpy ride, and that's where I try and share as many tools as possible in the crystal gatherings or before in the paperwork about how to do emotional work, like what do you do when it comes up. And the magic I've found with the AT is that instead of, let's say you're in the old aura and an old pattern comes up, like an emotional pattern, you might be stuck in it for like, you know, like postnatal depression or something. You might be stuck with that for months, like trying to sift through it and really release it and let it go and work through it and talk about it. When you have an aura transformation, that pattern might come up because it wants to get out of the system, and you might feel it, understand it, let it go, process it in like 3 hours. That was my experience, actually. That exactly happened. So I think it's just an opportunity to accelerate through this stuff. But yeah,
everything happens much quicker and easier than what it used to. There's less drama. There's a lot less drama, and less drama is required as a kind of, you know, sudden intervention to make sure that, you know, you get back on course.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. You know, there are some ways in which suddenly there would be no drama anymore, like things that used to, you know, that you used to kind of get you out of balance are suddenly like, oh, that's just happening. And then there are other things that before you would have tolerated or you would have, you know, colluded with, that now it's like, no way.
Coming in. Yeah,
it's like trying to negotiate with a volcano. You know, it's just not going to happen.
Fire, plenty of fire definitely arrives. Say something then. Oh well, I can't remember. I just wanted to plug actually that the next Aura Mediator course is in the UK, probably in Exeter with Johanna and myself, and that's on the 26th of March to the 31st of March. And so anyone that's interested, drop me a call and I'll definitely talk you through what's needed. You have to apply and then wait for a response, and Annie Senov checks that it's the right thing for you to do. And then I get in touch with you and we have like a little mini interview, and then you're all set. There's a few books to read beforehand, and yeah, but it's a very exciting opportunity. And I think, I'm not sure if it's my last one being, you know, with Johanna and with someone else that's instructing me. Then after that, I think I'm like, I'm off.
Woohoo! Yeah, fantastic. And and I will talk to, you know, to different clients that I think may be up for that maybe, you know, maybe part of their destiny. So
Yeah, definitely. And
yeah, hopefully
so
we'll
you're
get some more mediators, because we need more mediators in this country.
I think it makes, I mean, all the Aura mediators that just trained, they were like, I wish every single person in Britain could have this. Just because of the environment and the media environment and the food environment and everything, we all need more resilience. We need to let go of the old ancestral baggage. It's time to move on and make things different. You know, it's time to evolve. And this is part of the process. But you're in Forest Row, which is near London, I find out. Do you work only from Forest Row, or do you move?
No, I do work in London as well a lot of the time. So a lot of people are happy to come down here to East Sussex because it's lovely and they get to walk around the forest. And yeah, or I work from London, but you know, like all of us, you know, I'm moving around quite a lot as well.
So yeah, I'm in Exeter. I'm taking clients from, I think, 7th of January now. In Exeter, and then I'm going to be in Lancaster. So anyone Manchester, Liverpool, that northern area, I'll be in Lancaster 17th to the 20th of February. So do get in touch if you're interested in that.
Are you living in Exeter now, Sarah?
I live in Exeter.
Or are you still up in? You moved down to Exeter permanently?
2.5 years ago, I moved to Exeter. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
So
I've been thinking of you up there, and now I have to like relocate in my mind. No, you're down there actually. When on my way down to Cornwall when I visit my family.
Hello.
Yeah. Exactly. We can meet. It's easier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe we should do this again sometime when we've got. I'm sure we could talk a lot more about more technical stuff, and I think some people enjoy them.
Yeah, exactly. We can go into some more like detail into certain areas. I feel like, yeah. It's like what you were talking about at the beginning in terms of in terms of when you do your training and then the energy just goes up. I feel like as soon as I start talking about aura transformation and the new time energy, I could just keep going forever because there's just so much, isn't there? So
yeah, and if anyone watching has any questions that they might want us to answer in future, in a future live, or I think that it'd be nice if we could both do some sort of, you know, like do a little talk for aura mediators in Britain that are less active. Maybe we could do a little sharesy thing.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. I'd love to give some more support to the existing aura mediators.
Yeah. And yeah, so if there's any questions, please ask them on here and we can save them for next time. I'll post, you know, you could post your Facebook business page or whatever you put yourself on the thread. And if anyone would like to share the video, that would be wonderful. Certainly any aura mediators out there. And till next time, I'll be interviewing, I think I've got 6 other aura mediators lined up over the next months to have chats like this. But I've really appreciated you coming on, and it's been lovely to chat with you and hear more about what you're doing and how you see aura transformation. I mean, we've never even really talked, but you know, we're saying the same, so it's nice.
Yeah, really great to speak to you, Sarah, and yeah, I look forward to much more conversations. And congratulations on on being an instructor. I think you're the ideal person to be doing this in the UK right now.
That's nice. So, thank you. Cheers. Well, have a lovely evening and chat to you soon.
So
take care.
Yeah, lots of love.
Bye.
Bye everyone.